Jet is an extremely addictive drug ingested through inhaling. It was introduced in Fallout 2 and has been in every game since, with different side effects in each game. In Fallout 2, Jet gives the player +2 action points, +1 strength, and +1 perception for 5 minutes. In Fallout 3, it raises your action points by 30 for 4 minutes, and in New Vegas, it raises your action points by 15 for 4 minutes. But Fallout 4 has the most different side effects. In Fallout 4, Jet slows down time and increases your reaction speed for 10 seconds, as well as increases your jump distance and firing range. Jet was around in the pre-war in some form or another, but it is not clear. It was even used by Vault-Tec during a Vault experiment, more specifically in Vault 95, where the Vault was sent a large quantity of Jet and Psycho during its construction. After the bombs fell, people were still looking for ways to get high, as they always do, and eventually the Wastelanders and the Burrows, an underground settlement in Appalachia, started to report that they were inhaling Brahmin dung fumes to get high, and this was also used by chem addicts and gangs such as the Blood Eagles. A much more potent version of Jet was introduced in New California in the first half of the 23rd century by Myron, a self-taught juvenile prodigy specializing in drug manufacture. Myron came into New Reno a few years before 2241 and offered his services after noticing that the drug operation, which was centered on farming peyote cacti and selling it as the Reno Experience, could use some improvement. The combination of low strength, which was less than half of old school LSD, and had a long high duration, made peyote a subpar choice for a fast turnaround. The exact specifics as to how Myron came into the Mordino's employment is still unclear, but it is known that through trial and error, Myron eventually managed to arrive at a solution fit for the new climate. As they could not grow coca plants or opium poppies, Myron settled for developing hallucinogens. Based on extracts from mushrooms grown by the Mordinos, Myron began experimenting with derivatives of lysergic acid diethylamide, psilocybin, and THC. The impetus to create Jet came when Big Jesus Mordino ordered Myron to create a drug that would give him control over Redding. In order to avoid relying on extracts from vegetables and mushrooms, Myron began exploring his possibilities. Since pre-war meat companies experimented with cheap protein extracts to increase their profit margins, only to realize that the slightest contamination made the entire extract act like a much more potent amphetamine upon digestion. Rather than dump the entire program, the companies fed their extracts to cattle as not to waste product. But what they didn't realize is that the protein extract would be metabolized and absorbed by the cattle's bodies, becoming a major element of their metabolism. The cattle would eventually mutate into Brahmin. With some elbow grease, one could easily and readily recreate the contaminated extract. Although Myron did not have access to the tools and expertise in order to isolate said extract, he decided to do it through proxy. By growing mushrooms and fertilizer provided by the affected Brahmin and extract from the fungus, the eureka moment came completely unexpectedly. When Myron observed the slaves that were tending to the Brahmin fertilizer, he noticed that they were getting high purely off fumes. The Brahmin poop contained the desired drug in a large enough concentration to be viable as a commercial drug, exactly what Big Jesus wanted. After a round of testing which claimed the lives of 100 slaves, primarily due to myocardial infractions, which is basically a heart attack, cerebral hemorrhages, and psychotic episodes, the first iteration of Jet was finally ready for deployment. The investment returned itself multiple times over, and the expense wrought by Myron's experimentation and a loss of slaves was absorbed by the burgeoning Mordino budget. By January of 2241, the first Jet samples arrived in Redding, creating a wave of addiction that affected miners and other denizens of the town, making it reliant on regular shipments from Redding. The stable's research team would further Myron's work, hoping to create a stronger and even more potent version codenamed Jet Beta. However, the results were unsuccessful as they could not quite get the kinks out, which were, for example, nasal bleeding, hallucinations, and heart attacks. But they did increase the duration of its time from 5 minutes to 60. However, the development of Jet Beta was halted by the introduction of a Jet antidote. Eventually, less than a year after the events of Fallout 2, Myron would ironically enough die by the hands of a Jet addict in the bar at the Den. But, of course, that would not slow down the manufacture of Jet in the slightest, and it would eventually make its way to the capital Wasteland, where Murphy, a ghoul, would try and produce an even more potent version titled Ultra Jet for the consumption of specifically ghouls who were barely affected by standard Jet. Now just remember the next time you're in a heated battle in Fallout, and you decide to take a hit of Jet just to boost your battle performance, just remember you are role-playing a character that huffs cow shit. Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the video.